Hello, and welcome to the podcast where our goal is to remind you that amidst the chaos and craziness of the world, there is still plenty of good that's worth shouting about. In each episode, we're going to be joined by nonprofit professionals, leaders, experts, and advocates to hear their stories, facilitate connection within the nonprofit sector, and hopefully put a smile on your face, because that's always nice. This is Nonprofit Connect with Matt Barnes. Let's share some good. This has been a Rogue Creatives production. All right, I'm here with Howard Pearl. Howard, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Before we jump into the topic of the day, we always start with a section we call 3 random questions. We've got a whole list of random questions, and a randomizer chooses 3 of them. You ready?
Oh, sure. Throw me your best shot.
All right. What is your favorite meal of all time?
You know, it's a toss-up between really, really perfectly done fresh cut French fries.
Oh, yeah.
Or a great bowl of green curry.
Really? Okay. Yeah. With the French fries, do you prefer them like crispier or softer or right in the middle?
Yeah. They got to be well done. And I'm an expat Canadian, so I like a little white vinegar on there.
There you go. All right. Question 2. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Right where I am, San Diego, California. It's paradise. Nice. I love what I do. I love the people I'm surrounded by. And this, for me, is just a perfect place to live and work.
San Diego's great. I don't get down there enough. It's one of my favorites.
Well, come on down. I'll be happy to buy you a meal.
All right. I'll tell you. I might take you up on that. And finally, I don't know if you watch a lot of TV, but what's the latest show you've binged?
I don't watch a lot of the latest stuff, but my wife and I are binge watching a lot of British murder mysteries and police shows on Acorn and the other British streaming services.
Yeah.
Some really great stuff. Unforgotten is a tremendous one. It's about a cold case squad, and the whole season is about one case, and it gets really, really detailed. They do a great job. Some of them are just slapstick, but some of those British murder mysteries are really intriguing, and they're kind of mindless. So it's a great way to escape.
Yeah, we all need that, right?
I mean, doing what we do here, we're kind of always on. We've got about 8,500, nonprofits we serve across the country, and it never stops. So it's good to be able to get away and get involved in somebody else's problems for a while and enjoy that. So we like that. I must admit, on occasion, we actually have to turn the closed captions on because the British or the Australian or New Zealand accents are so extreme. It's hard to understand what they're saying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When we were watching Ted Lasso, same thing. We were missing so much because you gotta have the captions on, or you miss half of it.
Well, particularly because they're quick.
Yeah, they're very quick. Yeah. All right. Well, you've sort of set us up for the perfect transition in talking about what you do. Give us your origin story, where you came from, and how you ended up doing what you're doing now.
I don't know how most people wind up, in a chief executive spot in nonprofits, but I certainly had not expected to be here. I've had a couple of successful public exits. I built a large vertically integrated communications firm with clients like Ford, Johnson & Johnson, Ralph Lauren, Polo, Converse, and so on.
Nice.
Took that public and kind of moved on. Went into I created a new category in the off-road equipment arena with kind of a rock crawling search and rescue vehicle, which took me to China for 4 years living to build a plant for that. So kind of a serial entrepreneur and some turnaround work. And so most of my career, I've either worked for myself or worked for somebody on an interim basis to sort of move them forward. And I got a call one day from a recruiter who I knew and who I'd worked with as a solution provider, but never to recruit me. And she said, "Look, I have this interesting thing you seem to know a lot about cars and things like that, and I'd like you to see them. And I said, well, I'm not really looking at the moment. I just got myself involved in this other little thing. And she said, well, do me a favor and have a visit with these people. It'll give me some time to find somebody else. And you never know, you might find it intriguing. And the volume wasn't, incredible. It wasn't really what I wanted in terms of size. And I said, okay, I'll go for the interview. I mean,
Sure.
you never know who or what you stumble across. And I'm a big believer in networking. So at the very least, it'd be interesting.
Sure.
Went to the interview, and the fellow that interviewed me turns out to be just a tremendous colleague at this point. But during the interview, when I walked in, I'm sure this happens to many people. You walk in, and the interviewer's sitting there going, they're looking over your resume. I don't have a lot of patience for that sort of stuff. So I looked at him and I said, excuse me, sir, with all due respect, I'm assuming if I'm sitting at this table, it's because you've read my resume at some point. And he said, oh, that's how it's going to be. And he kind of stacked it up and put it down and we started talking. Shortly into the interview, he said, well, you're obviously, forgive the self-aggrandizement here, because he said, obviously you're pretty smart. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm smart, but I'm well-educated. And he said, well, you've been, successful. I said, well, I'm experienced. You stick at it long enough, something's going to work for you.
Sure.
And anyway, so the banter started, and all the formalities went away, and we just sat there for about 40 minutes, and turned out to have what turned out to be a really intriguing conversation. And in my, sort of self, promoting perspective, said, well, here's what I'm going to do for you. Being a little presumptuous. I'm going to find a new CEO for you for this thing, and I'm going to go in and I'll turn it around for you. I'll get the current fellow out, and we'll do something. Anyway, one thing led to the other, and we agreed I'd go in for 60 to 90 days at the most, replace and do it. I don't think I was here 4 days. I knew I was going to stay for a very long time. I was stricken by the staff, who had so much potential but had been so compressed by previous management. I also found, much to my surprise, the mission was intriguing, really exciting to me. And my wife made a comment, what's wrong with you? You've been coming home like really happy and motivated and excited and energized. And, and so I explained to her what we were doing. And she said, well, why don't you stay? And I said, they haven't asked me. And she looked at me and said, you're an idiot. I'm pretty sure if you tell them you'd like to stay, they might be happy to have you. And so it went. And that was about 8.5 years ago.
Nice. So tell me about CARS. What CARS is the organization. What is it that you guys do?
CARS is an acronym for Charitable Adult Rides and Services, Inc. And we do a number of things. Our big anchor program is we run the largest car donation program in the country that you have never heard of. We are not the guys with the obnoxious jingle. And I'm sorry, because that now is playing through many of your listeners' heads. And I apologize.
Absolutely.
But we are strictly B2B.
Okay.
So when nonprofits across the country asking for car donations or saying they accept car donations, 99% of them probably you're contacting our call center or working with our online people, or we're managing it for St. Jude Children Research, for Shriners, for 95% of the NPR and PBS stations across the country, and so on. The U.S. National Humane Society, and many, like I said, there's about 8,400 of them. Many of them are small, but our top 200 are pretty much the AAA nonprofits, American Red Cross, and so on. So it's a big enterprise. Last year I think over the last couple of years, we did, previous year we did about 154,000. Last year was a little, about 95,000 vehicles. But we also do the same thing for real estate for the same group of people. And real estate donations have been on the increase tremendously. Very, very big, a big piece of our business. Most nonprofits, particularly the smaller ones, mid-sized, don't want to take real estate. There's a lot of very tricky stuff involved. But we've managed to create an administrative process that allows anybody to take it with zero liability, period. Don't care what size you are. And that's worked out really, I must admit, bigger and better than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. And we have one other business, that we do, and that is we have a program called On the Go. By the way, you'll find out I'm a talker. If you need me to stop, you need to raise your hand or make a comment.
No, you're good. This is great.
Pardon me. On the Go is probably one of the programs here that I'm most passionate about. There are 10,000 Americans that turn 65 every day across the country, and there doesn't seem to be a significant infrastructure to deal with it. And we find that transportation is one of the barriers to dignity in aging and to quality living. It's not just about getting to your doctor's appointment. It's not just about getting to the hospital. It's about getting to a hair appointment. If you're an 85-year-old woman, you don't want to have roots.
Right.
As my mother said, I'm not going to meet my maker with roots. You better make sure I get to my hair appointment. And it's so true. But maybe we're delivering the groceries, but maybe every once a month or so on, they want to actually go to the supermarket themselves and pick up their own fresh fruits and vegetables. And maybe it's not age that's the impairment. Maybe it's cognitive disabilities or whatever it is. So On the Go is a national transportation system that provides transportation to a myriad of communities, some of which is paid for by various organizations. We have a pilot coming up with a well-known national organization that serves an aging population, but many municipal, county, and state governments also pick up the tab on some of this stuff. And we leverage Lyft, Uber, and Uber Health so that we don't have to have specialty vehicles ourselves and other what they call NEMT, which is non-emergency medical transport vehicles available for non-ambulatory people. And right now we're active in 22 states, but the goal, of course, is to get it nationally across the country. Sure. I think by the time we reach December of 24, we should be, pretty much have national coverage.
You're an organization that works with nonprofits then?
We are a nonprofit ourselves, and we only work with nonprofits.
So for obviously our listening audience is usually is mostly nonprofits, nonprofit leaders. What do they need to know? How can, about partnering with you? What is the ideal partner?
Any nonprofit, and it gets a little dicey, sometimes because there are nonprofits that have political leanings one way or another.
Sure.
We just kind of walk up the middle of the road. If you qualify as a nonprofit and are a 501c3 or 4 according to the government, we'll work with you. Some of the more hot potatoes, if you will, we let them do their own marketing. We provide them some guidance. But the rest of our clients, once they sign an agreement, they are truly partners. We go to market together as partners in the agreement. We're not professional fundraisers. We're partners. And as two 501c3s, we go to the market collectively. And we do that because if you don't make any profit, we're not making any either. Mostly our splits, depending on the size of the organization, are between 70 and 80%. But I would say about 90% of our organizations, receive up to 80% of the revenue that comes in. Which is a lion's share.
Yeah.
And we pick up 100% of the marketing costs on our side. Once you're in, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is give us the routing numbers. We ACH your money every week. Our deal here is once your capital hits our shores, 5 working days, and it's down the road to you. We have a full-time marketing staff of 11 people, and they do know how to go to market with this program for whomever you are. So when you see that creative come up again for, Shriners or DAV disabled vets, and you're looking at their car donation program and so on, that work is all done here. We produce the television, the radio spot, all of it.
Really?
Some of the NPR stations, of course, do their own, but we provide them the live read scripts, and we tend to know how it works. So yeah, it's a complete turnkey.
Very cool.
And I don't care if we only work for the protection of spotted dogs with no tail and 3 legs and 1 eye, and maybe, you get 3 vehicles a year and you get $7,500 out of that. And that's your entire budget because you're working out of your basement.
Yeah.
Some of the Catholic charities that we work with, they're single operations out of a church basement and they don't require a big budget. So we don't care. They all get the same treatment.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's no real downside here to working with you.
There isn't. And we take the term partnership seriously because, in fact, the agreement is a partnership. And that works for us because it also ensures that we are working on your behalf. We don't make a nickel if you don't. Well, we don't get 20 cents, of which, 10 cents covers our overhead. And the other 10 cents does our own nonprofit, which is nonprofit work here in the city of San Diego. Homelessness, safe parking lots for people living in their cars and so on. Our parent is a 106-year-old nonprofit.
Wow.
So it's a social service agency here in San Diego.
That's amazing. This is great. I mean,
well, thank you.
I think, I say this all the time on here. It's just so encouraging and wonderful doing this podcast because I get to, meet people like you, and there's so many out there doing amazing work that, like you said, people don't necessarily know about. You guys are the biggest car donation platform, but that you've never heard of because you don't have the annoying jingle. Maybe you need an annoying jingle. That could work.
No, I don't think so. We're fine.
Well, so for the nonprofits out there, where would they get the information on this?
Careasy.org, careasy.org is our sort of main website. But we have, when you go there, you should be able to shoot off to the, giving property. Also, we do have a consulting agency inside here, called the Giving Agency, which is very helpful to some of the smaller organizations and the larger organizations. We find the ones in the middle tend to want to solve their own issues and they use their own boards and so on. But the larger guys, do use consulting services, and the smaller ones. We do a lot of research, and we share the research. We have a huge BI team here, business intelligence team, and so right now we're doing a lot of research into youthful giving and why and where and how we capture those younger donors, and we've done a pretty good job of sharing that information. We go to a lot of conferences and present at a lot of conferences to share that information.
That's great information. What do you think is the biggest challenge in getting younger donors?
Well, when we're younger, right, we like to try things. Yeah. So, we may be captured by, one nonprofit over another for a short period of time, and then we go on to something else, and then we go on to something else. But as we age, we tend to find something we like and stick with it. Yeah. So it's really important to attract, the younger donor, even if it's for a short period, because if they like it, they'll come back.
Sure.
If they didn't. So you've got to make sure you give them a great experience. So, for example, there's a great example, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, sure. Use influencers. And so last year we did a rebuild of a 57 Chev with an influencer that is also a gamer. And so, he was getting, small donations, but lots of them, $5, $10, $15, $25 and so on. But, monthly from these guys. This year, we're using a guy who's got, I think about 4 million followers, and he's a gamer, teaches people, how to game and so on. And then, of course, interviews a lot of the kids at St. Jude and brings them in. So this is turning out to be a very, very good way to attract younger people for a period of time. And they follow these guys and, as long as they're involved, they're there. And at a certain point, they separate from that maybe, and then become donors on their own. So there's that. And we're very, I think, meticulous about where we use our pay-per-clicks, our digital media advertising, which is critical. And of course, what's big these days, right? We used to call it sort of, using the loudspeaker, and, we now call it storytelling. So we gear our storytelling to the age group that we're trying to attract, which of course depends on whether we're talking to an NPR, a National Public Radio crowd, or whether we're talking to, we want to specifically hit a younger group, and we try and find subjects that are of interest and weave it together.
Yeah, it's great. One of the things I've been having conversations a lot about is sort of the other side, I guess, of that, in looking at how do we change culture in general to make giving more a part of people's thought processes and lives. And because, nonprofits, we spend so much time marketing, which is it's all good stuff, but it's a lot of, trying to get people to come and be a part and convince them and that kind of thing, which is necessary. But then the other side of that is there's sort of a lack of sometimes understanding in the culture, or of a culture of giving, or a culture of giving back, and understanding that your finances can go to make changes in the world. Have you come across any of that, any ways of kind of helping to bring people in interesting ways, change their mindsets on that?
Well, I think yes and no.
Yeah.
It's it's trial and error, right? But things change. And they change a little more swiftly than they did perhaps when you and I were maybe the target we're going after.
Sure.
These days. First off, there's so many media platforms, everything from, of course, podcasts, which, who doesn't love podcasting? I mean, for gosh sakes, you can listen when you want. You can listen in your car. You get into the car, put the earpiece in, and continue to listen and don't lose your spot. And it's so convenient. And I can do it when I want, how I want. And I can interrupt this one and go on to something else for a bit and then come back 2 days later and pick it up, and I'm still engrossed.
Yeah.
So we don't lose our spot. So in fact, communicating through podcasts like this, like yours, reaches a lot and a varied audience. But the truth is this, your research has got to give you a clear understanding of what your target group is interested in during this period. There's no mystery to media. It's equity in, equity out.
Yeah.
How many times you send the message and who you send the message to. So it's just like it was, way back when, right? Who do I want to talk to? Where are they?
Yeah.
What are they watching? Who are they listening to? Where are they going? And what we do have as a real leverage, and we're very fortunate about this, and I think people are always complaining about, younger people, but the truth is, this is a very, very interesting younger generation. They're interested in everything.
Yes.
And they're very interested in social causes, as we know. They're very interested in the environment. They're very interested in helping. They're very interested in making the world better. And so if you can communicate, if you can tell your story, communicate the message, very short, concentrated, but, effective, sentences, and you're almost down to that, just to intrigue them enough that they say, okay, you know what? While I'm, we used to channel surf. Now we're looking at this website, that website.
Sure.
All I have to do is give them enough, not too much, but enough to get them intrigued to go to your website or go to a website and take a look at it. I think we're going to find that this generation is going to turn into as generous a group when they, inherit, and when they get all this wealth that's coming out of the baby boomers. Right now it's difficult. Many of them can't afford, to give too much. But still, you see them giving $5, $10, $15, $25. You see them getting involved and volunteering. This is very, very positive and very constructive, in my opinion, and I think bodes well for where we'll be able to help them find a gratifying experience in giving or volunteering.
Yeah. That's great. This is amazing, the work that you're doing, and is definitely something more nonprofits should know about. And I'm definitely going to help spread the word on that. So it's careasy.org.
Careasy, CAREASY.org, careasy.org.
But we always close with a few questions just to wrap up. But what's the one thing that makes you feel most connected? We're all about connectedness here.
My life has been... I've been in the C-suite a long time, but it's always been business, commercial, bottom line, EBITDA, bigger, larger, gobble, gobble, gobble. I think what connects me now is that I bring all of those principles as I sort of, come to the last sort of quarter or third of my career. I find that bringing those tools and that experience I have the same staff here that I had 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago, when I walked in the door. But when I got here, there were very few post-secondary school educated people. We now have many of them because we pay for their education and let them go and get there. So I think what connects me is watching the people that work with me grow and benefit from the experiences, historical experiences that make this business work better. So I look and I feel connected to the nonprofits we work with because their mission, touches me.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know somebody who's had, a child that ended up in the hospital or cancer or breast cancer? I think the work itself is what connects you. It just brings you in when you see happy solutions. And the truth is, we need money for these organizations to work, and funding them is very fulfilling. Sorry, I did warn you. I do go on.
No, you're great. This is great. I love, you have a lot of insight and knowledge. I think, I love seeing people who bring a different kind of background to the nonprofit space, because different perspectives are so needed in this space to help it grow and to help it see the pitfalls and issues that have crept up in the space over time that maybe people who have just been in it for a long time don't see as much, because we're sort of like in the seeing the forest from the trees.
I had a professor once, his favorite expression was, to the doers go the doing. So, get out there and do something. Mm-hmm. And then you find that, if you've done something, that, that in itself is a great deal of gratification. So I can tell you that the success of this organization and its growth, and we've grown multiples of 100%, is really due to the passion of the people who work here. There's no question. As the chief executive, all you do is say, we're going this way. Mm-hmm. Everybody come on. And they're the innovators. They're the people who really deliver the results. They're in the trenches. They're talking to the nonprofits and to the community every day. And our DSRs and our TSRs, the people that take the calls, people think their call centers are, important or not important, or they go offshore, they do whatever they do. High touch call centers, when you're raising capital, are, I think, the single most important part of they're the spearhead, right? They're the arrowhead on the end of the stick. And they need to know, our two watchwords in this building, there's only 2 words you need to know to be successful in this building, just 2. And I expect everybody to know them: gratitude and margin.
Love it.
No money, no mission. And our job, because we're a full-time receiver of gifts on behalf of our partners, is to express our deepest and most sincere gratitude to the people who give us whatever it is, a gift of a piece of property or a gift of a vehicle. And in America, we understand that everybody's vehicle comes with a lifetime of stories. My kid was born in the back seat. We didn't make it to the hospital. Or, there's a million stories. One of these days, I hope I get to produce a coffee table book of stories.
That'd be great.
We get with it. Yeah.
All right. Last question. What aspect of your job brings you the most joy?
To the doers go the doing. Just doing it.
Yeah.
Just doing it.
Nice.
Just doing it. I'm one of the really fortunate people who I love the management aspect. I like the puzzle of management and leading and growing. I think I love the interaction with my staff. I am so grateful for the people here who step up every day, and that's very fulfilling. Yeah. So, I guess it's just the whole thing. It's a wonderful way to spend a lifetime in a career.
That's so great. Well, thank you so much, Howard. How can people, we've given them the website. How can they find you, connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Howard Pearl. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't have anybody blocked in particular. I get a lot of mail there. I mostly try to, if somebody sort of prefaces it with, I saw you on, and a question mark, as opposed to, how many sales hits we get on there these days.
I know.
I like to talk to people. If they're sincere, I'll take a minute or two.
Sure.
Or they can send me an email at howardp at careasy.org.
Perfect.
And I'll be happy to respond if it's a sincere question. And,
awesome.
Appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you this morning, Matt.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well.
Or afternoon, wherever you are.
Yeah, I'm in Newport Beach, so I'm just up the way from you.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then you know why I love living in San Diego.
Oh, yeah. All right,
Hard
Howard.
shoveling those.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
the
much.
opportunity.
Well, there you have it. This episode of Nonprofit Connect with Matt Barnes, brought to you by Rogue Creatives, is over. It's done. Finished. What are you going to do with the rest of your day? You're going to take the dog for a walk, maybe have some dinner. Before you do any of those things, could you do us a massive favor and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever else you listen to us? Obviously, you don't have to, but, it'd be very, very appreciated. Oh, and if you want to hear more from us, visit our website at npconnect.roguecreatives.com. That's npconnect, like Nonprofit Connect, .roguecreatives.com. We'll see you soon. Nonprofit Connect with Matt Barnes is hosted and executive produced by me, Matt Barnes, with an assist by my chaos coordinator, Tiffany Pope. Production is by our amazing friends over at Fame, the B2B podcast agency, along with Belinda Carter-Thompson and the team here at Rogue Creatives. Production lead is Luke Audi at Fame. Writing is by Sam Hollis at Fame and Matt Barnes and Taylor Bolanos from Rogue Creatives. Nemanja Koljaja of Fame is our audio editor, and Arslan Yakub from Fame is our video editor. Creative direction is by Corey Hill of Rogue. Our artwork is designed by Hopo Kelly and Joshua Marino at Rogue, and Ian Salas of Fame. Theme music is composed and performed by Jared Atherton of Chapters. Luke Audi of Fame does our booking and our guest relations. Huge thanks to our amazing guest for joining us for this episode, and to all of you incredible listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, don't forget to help us spread some good by giving us a good review. Preferably, 5 stars with lots of words saying how amazing we are on whatever platform you're listening on. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it is. Also, tell your friends and subscribe so we can come straight into your potholes each and every time we have a new episode. For more information about Nonprofit Connect or to join us at a live event here in Orange County, California, visit our website, npconnect.roguecreatives.com. We'll catch you next time. This has been a Rogue Creatives production.